If you're planning a visit to the Canary Islands, then I'd recommend hiring a car. In this video, I'll go through the things that you need to know before hiring a car there. Hi, I'm the Travel Tips Guy, here to help you get the most out of travel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. When you're looking to hire a car for a holiday, you'd normally go to any of the comparison websites to look for a car hire there. Now, generally, these would list all cars available according to the price. And generally, when looking for a car hire, you'd normally narrow it down by certain categories. So these are things such as what size of vehicle you're looking for, how many seats it has, if it's a manual or automatic, and generally nowadays the fuel policy. Some of these things are key considerations. However, when hiring a car in the Canary Islands, there are a few things that you need to be aware of that are more unique to the Canary Islands. Now, with any car that you normally hire, there's usually an excess of some sort should you get into an accident or damage the car in any way. In the UK, for example, the excesses can be quite high, so sometimes they can range from £500 to £1,000. Generally, the car hire companies would push you to take out an extra form of insurance to reduce the excess down to zero. Now, this can be anywhere from £10 a day to £30 a day, and sometimes even higher. Now, one of the good things about hiring a car in the Canary Islands is the zero excess. You're usually covered for most situations and damages that would occur to the car. However, there are certain things that aren't covered, and this is where I'd recommend taking the extra form of insurance available. Now, unlike the UK and several other countries, the extra form of insurance isn't actually that expensive. So when I took it out, it cost me an extra €2 per day. Now, €14 for a total of 7 days isn't much, considering you get 7 days of worry-free driving. This extra insurance covers damage to the wheel rims, tyres, refueling with the wrong type of fuel, letting the battery run down due to forgetting to switch off lights, for example. Now, this extra form of insurance is actually capped at €30. In my opinion, it's well worth it. Now, one of the things to be aware of is the fuel policy. Now, most car companies will fall into one of two categories. They'll either supply you with a full tank of fuel, or they'll ask you to bring back the same level of fuel that's already in the car when you receive it. The first time I ever hired a car, I went with a policy where essentially the car hire company charged me for the full tank of fuel. I had several issues with this. One, I didn't end up actually using the full tank of fuel because on that occasion I didn't do much driving. And two, the charges for the actual full tank was actually more than I'd get if I were to fill it up myself. So on that basis, I'd recommend going for a car hire company that has a fuel policy where you return it the same as you received it. On many of the comparison websites, it'll be listed as same to same. One of the other things I'd recommend when looking for a car hire company is checking the location of the actual office. The first time I ever hired a car in the Canary Islands was in Fuerteventura. I went for a company called Gold Car. Now, their office, although it showed up in these searches as located in Fuerteventura Airport, the actual office was located outside of the airport perimeter. So when I arrived there, I ended up having to catch a coach to get to the local office, and then that's essentially where I got the car from. Now, it can prove inconvenient, especially if you're with a family and you've got several pieces of luggage. For that reason, I'd recommend first go onto the website of the airport that you're arriving at, and usually it'll have all the car hire offices that are located within the terminal. Use the list of car hire companies that are located within the terminal to narrow down your choice of car hire companies. Now, the last tip I have for you is to double check the office opening hours. This is crucial, especially if you're arriving on a late flight. A lot of times I've found that if I was arriving in on a late flight, say for example at 12 midnight, many of the car hire offices would actually be closed. Now, some would stay open or they'd have a special way of collecting the keys, but often they would charge you an extra fee for that. Often I've found it's something like €50 just to pick it up out of hours. What I tend to do is, if I'm looking for flights, I tend to look at the arriving times and try and ensure that I arrive within working hours, or at least before the office is closed. So if you've got a choice of flights, then try to arrive at least before 8 o'clock in the evening. At least you know you'll have a good chance that the car hire office will be open. That should save you the out of hours fee, and it should make things easier when picking up the car, or if you need to ask any questions, or as I experienced in some cases where I had to actually swap the car because there was something wrong with the car that I received. Now you can imagine if this was out of hours, then there'd be no one around for you to ask these types of questions to, or even swap the car. So those are the tips that I'd use when hiring a car abroad. Now these tips can actually be used anywhere you go, to be honest. It's not just specific for the Canary Islands, although some of the rules around excesses and fuel policies and insurance waivers are specific to Spain. Let me know in the comments if you tend to hire a car if going abroad, or are you one of those people that tend to stick to public transport. In all honesty, I try to avoid public transport. I prefer having the freedom of a car when on holiday. Hope you found this video useful. If it has been useful, do give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe for future videos like this. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.